I never thought I'd be the kind of person to openly share about family drama online, but here I am, typing away because the weight of my dysfunctional family is just too heavy to carry alone. It all starts at home, where silence speaks volumes and the air feels thick with unspoken words and unresolved anger. From the moment I step through the front door, the tension wraps around me like a thick fog that never lifts. My dad has this way of making his disappointment feel like a constant shadow that follows me everywhere. It's not even about what I do most times, it's just who I am. He rarely says anything outright cruel, but his cold looks and the way he dismisses my ideas make me feel invisible, like I'm failing even before I try. Mom is a different kind of storm. She's worn down by years of trying to hold everything together, but sometimes her exhaustion turns into frustration, and she takes it out on me and my siblings. I can see it in her eyes, this desperate need for peace that she never quite finds. Most days, she's just too tired to care about the fights that erupt out of nowhere. My older brother, Jake, seems to have built a wall around himself so high no one can reach him anymore. He's sarcastic, biting, and quick to snap. Sometimes I think he's the angriest because he's the one who's hurt the most, but he hides it too well. When he's not throwing barbs at me, he's locked away in his room, avoiding all of us. Then there's my little sister, Emma. She's caught in the middle, sometimes hurt, sometimes angry, sometimes silent. It breaks my heart to see her retreat into herself because the family chaos is just too much for her young mind. I wish I could protect her from all of this, but I'm barely holding myself together. Last night was probably the worst. We had what should have been a simple family dinner, but it quickly spiraled. Dad made a passive-aggressive comment about how I never contribute to the household chores, and before I could defend myself, Jake jumped in with a sarcastic joke that only made things worse. Mom tried to calm us down, but the frustration in her voice made it clear she was done pretending everything was fine. I remember feeling my chest tighten as the insults flew back and forth. Emma sat quietly, tears streaming down her face, while I clenched my fists under the table, trying not to cry. It was like being trapped in a storm, unable to find shelter. The whole night ended with slammed doors and a silence so loud it felt like it would shatter the walls. Sometimes I wonder how we ended up like this. Was it always this way? I try to recall my earliest memories, but the lines blur between moments of warmth and sudden coldness. The few times when laughter filled the room seem like distant echoes overshadowed by years of conflict and misunderstanding. School feels like the only place where I can breathe. Outside the house, I can pretend none of this exists, but then the phone rings or a message pops up from a family group chat, and the weight drags me back down. It's exhausting trying to keep the peace or be the mediator, especially when I'm barely holding onto my own sanity. One of the hardest parts is the constant feeling of walking on eggshells. Nothing is ever straightforward. A simple question can turn into an argument if someone's mood is off. I've learned to read every tone, every glance, trying to predict the next blow. It's like living in a minefield where one wrong step sets off an explosion. Last week, I decided to confront Dad about how his words make me feel. I thought it might help to clear the air, but instead, it blew up in my face. He dismissed me, said I was being too sensitive and ungrateful. That moment shattered something inside me. I realized some things maybe never change, no matter how much you want them to. Mom caught me crying later that night. For a second, she looked like she wanted to say something comforting, but then she just told me to stop making a scene. I felt so alone in that moment, like the person who's supposed to protect me was actually part of the problem. Jake's anger scares me sometimes. He's got this fire inside that can flare up without warning. One night, after a fight with Dad, he slammed his bedroom door so hard the whole house shook. I wanted to run to him, to tell him it would be okay, but I was terrified he'd lash out at me too. Emma's silence is the hardest to watch. She used to be so vibrant, always laughing and asking questions. Now she barely speaks at home. The other day, I found her drawing sad faces in her notebook, and it broke my heart. It's like the family dysfunction is slowly stealing pieces of her innocence. Sometimes I think about running away, not necessarily from the family, but from the chaos, just packing a bag and disappearing for a while. But then guilt sinks in. Who would look after Emma? Who would try to keep Mom from falling apart completely? I've tried therapy, both alone and with family sessions, but convincing everyone to come together and talk openly feels impossible. Dad refuses to admit there's a problem. Mom is too overwhelmed. Jake won't participate, and Emma is too scared. It's like each of us is trapped in our own bubble of pain. One of my teachers noticed I was struggling and asked if I wanted to talk. I hesitated, but finally opened up a little. It felt weird, sharing family secrets with someone outside, but it was also a relief. For once, someone listened without judgment or trying to fix me. At home, the fights keep coming, sometimes over small things like who left the kitchen messy or who didn't do their part. Other times, it's deeper, old grudges, resentments, and disappointments spilling over. It's exhausting, and I often go to bed feeling like I'm carrying the weight of the whole family on my shoulders. There are fleeting moments of peace, like when we all watch a movie together or share a meal without arguing. Those times remind me there's still a chance for us, even if it feels like a fragile thread in a storm. I cling to those moments because they give me hope, however small. I've started journaling to get my feelings out. Writing helps me make sense of the chaos inside my head. Sometimes I write letters to family members I never intend to send, pouring out everything I wish I could say without fear of backlash or hurt feelings. Recently, I overheard Mom talking on the phone, crying quietly. She said she didn't know how much longer she could keep pretending everything was okay. That moment hit me hard, realizing even the strongest person in our family feels broken sometimes. Dad's stubbornness is a constant barrier. He refuses to acknowledge his role in the mess, always blaming others. It's like he's built this fortress of pride that won't let anyone in. I wish he could see that admitting fault doesn't make him weak. It might be the first step toward healing. Jake and I have a complicated relationship. When he's not angry, he can be surprisingly protective, especially of Emma. But those moments are rare and often overshadowed by his sarcasm and bitterness. I want to reach out, but I'm scared of being rejected or hurt again. Emma still looks up to me in some ways, and that responsibility weighs heavily. I try to be the older sister she deserves, but sometimes I feel like I'm failing her just by being caught in this mess. I want her to grow up in a better environment, but right now, that feels impossible. There was a time when I thought talking about our problems as a family would fix everything. I imagined a big heart-to-heart where we all cried, apologized, and started fresh. But reality is messier, and real change feels like a distant dream I'm not sure we can reach. I've started setting small boundaries for my own sanity, stepping away when things get too heated, spending more time outside the house, and focusing on school and friends. It's not a perfect solution, but it helps me hold onto a shred of peace. Sometimes I catch myself daydreaming about a different life, a family that supports each other, where laughter replaces shouting and hugs are more common than silence. Those daydreams are bittersweet because they remind me of what's missing, but also what could be possible someday. One night after another argument, I locked myself in my room and just sobbed. It felt like all the pain and frustration I'd been holding in exploded at once. I wanted to scream, to make someone hear me, but all I could do was cry silently into my pillow. My friends sometimes don't understand why I can't just get over my family issues. They say things like, just ignore it, or you can choose your family. But it's not that simple. Blood ties run deep, and love is complicated when it's tangled with hurt and anger. I've noticed that my self-esteem takes a hit every time we fight. The constant criticism and lack of support make me question my worth. It's a slow erosion of confidence that's hard to fight against when it's coming from the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. Mom's exhaustion sometimes turns into moments of warmth that surprise me. When she's not overwhelmed, she can be gentle and nurturing. Those brief windows remind me that beneath the dysfunction, there's still a family trying to hold on, even if it's messy and imperfect. I've tried to talk to Jake about therapy, but he just laughs it off. He says things like, "Therapy won't fix this," or "Why bother?" It's frustrating because I want us all to get help, but pushing too hard only pushes him further away. Dad's silence is sometimes the loudest thing in the house. When he's upset, he just shuts down, refusing to speak or acknowledge anything. That kind of cold distance hurts in a different way than anger. It feels like abandonment even when he's physically present. Emma asked me recently why we fight so much. I didn't have a good answer. How do you explain to a child that grown-ups sometimes get tangled in their own pain and forget how to be kind? I just told her I loved her and wished things were better. There are days when I pretend everything is fine, especially around friends or teachers. I put on a smile and act like I have my life together, but inside, it feels like I'm crumbling. The mask is getting harder to wear, and some days I just want to let it fall. I've started reading about family dynamics and emotional health, trying to understand what's going on in my home. It's strange to see my family's struggles reflected in psychology books, but also comforting to know I'm not alone in this chaos. One afternoon, I caught Mom staring out the window, lost in thought. When I asked her what she was thinking, she said she was worried about all of us. It was a rare moment of vulnerability that made me realize even she feels trapped by the situation. Jake's music is one of his few escapes. Sometimes I hear him playing guitar softly in his room, and it reminds me that beneath the tough exterior, there's a part of him that's still searching for peace, just like the rest of us. Dad's workaholic tendencies add another layer to the tension. He's often gone late or distracted by his job, which leaves Mom overwhelmed with managing the household and the kids. It's like we're all isolated in our struggles, barely connecting. Emma's school counselor reached out to me once, asking if everything was okay at home. I wanted to say yes, but the truth was too complicated. I just told her we were working through some stuff, hoping that was enough for now. Family holidays are a minefield. Expectations are high, but the reality is usually disappointment. Last Christmas, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Presents felt hollow, and forced smiles couldn't hide the undercurrents of resentment. I sometimes catch myself replaying arguments in my head, wondering if I could have said something differently or avoided the fight altogether. The mental exhaustion is real, like being stuck on a loop of pain and regret that never ends. Mom once told me she feels like she's failing as a mother. Hearing that from her broke my heart. I want to tell her she's doing her best, but I also know she's drowning under the weight of years of unresolved conflict and emotional neglect. Jake's favorite phrase is, "It's not my problem." It's his shield against the chaos, but it also pushes him away from the family. I wish he could see that sharing the burden might make it lighter instead of heavier. Dad's rare moments of kindness are like flashes of sunlight on a cloudy day. When he smiles or offers a genuine compliment, it reminds me there's a better version of him buried somewhere beneath all the frustration and pride. Emma and I have started having secret little talks at night. It's our way of finding calm in the storm, whispering about hopes, dreams, and silly things to distract ourselves from the family chaos. Those moments are precious and keep me going. Sometimes I feel like I'm living two lives, the one at home filled with tension and pain, and the one outside where I'm just a normal teenager trying to figure things out. Keeping those worlds separate is exhausting, but it's the only way I survive. Mom's passive-aggressive comments about Dad's absence at family events make me cringe. It's like the unresolved resentment between them infects every corner of our home, and we're all caught in the fallout. Dad rarely shows affection, but I remember once when he surprised me with tickets to a concert I'd wanted to see. That night felt like a glimpse of the family we could be if only the walls we've built would come down. Jake's room is a mess of discarded clothes, posters, and guitar picks. It's like his personal chaos mirrors the family's dysfunction. When he finally opens up about his feelings, they come out in bursts of anger and frustration that no one knows how to handle. Emma's art has become her sanctuary. She draws vibrant worlds far from the gloom at home, and sometimes she lets me see her sketches. It's a reminder that even in darkness, creativity and hope can survive. I've started setting small goals for myself, finish school projects, improve my grades, find moments of joy outside the family drama. It's not easy, but these little victories remind me that I'm more than the chaos around me. Mom's health has been declining, and I worry it's because of the stress she carries. She brushes it off, but I see the fatigue in her eyes and the way she sometimes forgets things. It scares me to think about what might happen if she breaks completely. Dad's anger sometimes scares Emma. She's told me she wishes he would just hug her instead of shouting. Those words hit me like a punch because I want the same things, a family where love is louder than hurt. Jake once told me that he feels trapped between wanting to escape and feeling guilty for leaving us behind. It's a complicated mix, and I don't blame him for feeling torn. I just wish we could all find a way to heal together. I started attending a support group for teens dealing with family issues. Hearing others' stories made me feel less alone. We share our pain, fears, and small triumphs. It's the one place where I don't have to pretend everything is okay. Mom's favorite saying is family is forever, but sometimes I wonder if forever means being stuck in this cycle of pain. I want to believe in that forever.